Today, we're going to be building 3 different shops. I'm pretty low on diamonds, so I desperately need more. So most of our work today is going to be here in the shopping district in hopes that we can fix that issue. Let's get started. Now, as you can see, I've gone through and claimed a couple plots here on the boardwalk, and this is where we're going to be putting our shops. So the goal today is to make this, a concrete shop, and I've got a pretty cool design planned out, but it's kind of difficult to make concrete. You need a bunch of sand, a bunch of gravel, and most importantly, you need dye. So that's going to lead us down over this way, because over here, someone had put a sign that there was an open spot in between the redstone shop and the spruce log. So I was like, all right, cool, we'll make a flower shop. And that's because I'm going to need the dyes for the concrete anyway, so I might as well just, sell some flowers. So we've got that, except, flower farms, they require a lot of bone meal. And if you've watched my most recent book club episode, I built this moss farm and I really like it. And it produces a ton of bone meal. So that's our last shop. Or technically the first. We've got to build this shop first, but this is going to be moss and pale moss. We're going to be selling that right here. So that's kind of the order of operations here. I eventually want to make that concrete shop over there, but to do that we need dyes, and to make dyes we need a bunch of bone meal. So, we might as well just make 3 shops to do that. And that means we're going to be making a ton of farms today. Now, I know we've spent a lot of time on this base over here, and this is still going to be my base of operations, but I don't really have room for all the farms we're going to make today. So we're going to make a sort of industrial district, I think. But at the same time, I don't really like the concept of an industrial district, so we're eventually going to turn this into a town. And we're probably going to work on this town for the rest of the season. So that's basically going to be my mega project, I guess. But we're going to go out here to a very specific biome, because I need dyes, so I need to go to a flower forest, and all of the closest flower forests are occupied by people. So we've got quite a distance to go in this direction. I think, yeah, I have it marked out right there, I believe. So right here is where we're going to put our portal, and this should hopefully lead us to a flower biome. That's the goal, right? Oh yeah, this is exactly where we wanted to go, although I did want the portal to show up on this hill right here. So this is going to be our project for the rest of the season, I believe. We're going to eventually turn this into a town, but I want the town to be functional. So what I'm thinking is we're going to occupy this field, and then this mountaintop, and this mountaintop. And what I want to do is I want to have some moss generators up on the top of the mountains. And a quarter of the moss we're just going to store as moss, but then the rest of it goes down this channel where it gets turned into bone meal, and it flows into some flower farms that we have in this area, and that way we can mass produce flowers and produce a ton of dye. There's no flower that gives black dye except for wither roses, and I really don't want to make a wither rose farm, so instead we need to make a squid farm, and that's going to require us to drain a lot of this river to put a squid farm so we can get black dye. But yeah, that's for later. We first got to set up the moss farms, and then the little pipe that sends all of the moss or bone meal or whatever down into a pipe. However, we are going to need quite a few resources. Thank you. Oh my gosh. We are going to need quite a few resources, and a lot of those include blocks that can only be found in the Nether. So I'm hoping that this is far enough away from all the other Nether portals, and this should just put us in the base Nether instead of the roof. I have ruined someone's path. Okay, that's fantastic. This looks like a wither skeleton farm or something. So I went ahead and moved the Nether portal over so it's not blocking this hallway, and I also spawn proofed it a bit. But this is honestly a crazy Nether portal spawn. Imagine just being in the overworld and then putting down a Nether portal and you're just in the fortress. That's kind of cool. But yeah, now that we've done that, I'm just going to go and mine for some nether quartz. There's a lot on the roof, but I think I'm just going to build a tunnel somewhere over here. Ugh, I hate the basalt delta. This is awful. I'll figure it out. So what I ended up doing is going to this warped forest where I could mine quartz, but that was really inefficient, so I decided to make a mine. And while I was mining around, I found a ton of ancient debris, which is awesome. But mining for quartz is really slow, so I went over to Dune Peach's villagers, which he said I could use, and I traded for a bunch of quartz, which we're gonna need for the actual build of the shop. And yeah, that's about all we collected in the Nether. 13 ancient debris is crazy, but that's a ton of quartz. And I also have just normal quartz, which I had to get from the Nether, and that is for like comparators, observers, you know, that sort of stuff. So one last thing we need to buy are some slime balls, and these are a diamond per stack. So I'm just gonna buy 1 stack for now. I think that should be good. Apparently I also need a ton of redstone, so we're gonna buy one of these stacks, or like quarter stacks of redstone. I actually need so much redstone, oh my gosh. Let's buy a whole stack of blocks. Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh, guys, the shopping never ends. I need more slime. And just like that, we have all the materials we're going to need to build our 4 moss farms. Building these farms is going to be very tedious work, so why don't we just do a montage? Guys, this thing is crazy. I don't think I've ever built a farm that just overflows like this thing does. So I have 4 of these moss farms designed by Basic Redstone, whose tutorial is in the description. But instead of having everything go into some boxes like they do in the tutorial, I have all the moss flow down and into these little pipes. And these pipes all consolidate on this one hopper, and that's kind of an issue. Oh, and I've also hooked up all of the farms to this one switch so I can just turn everything on, and this thing goes crazy. So just looking right here, right, there's so much moss flowing in just from these 2 farms. And then we can go further along our pipes, and you can see that already this hopper cannot keep up, and it's been less than 30 seconds. And it's so much clumped up right there that you see empty inventory, and we have like that much within half a minute. So I think I might have to move this like composter thing underneath one of these pipes so that it picks up all the moss and stuff to produce bone meal. Maybe I can turn it off and switch it to moss mode and bone meal mode or something, because this thing just cannot keep up. This hopper's already full. These composters don't even get used, and we're nearly overflowing on moss. And yeah, like half an inventory worth of stuff. So pretty cool. I'm going to turn this off because it's a little absurd. But now that we have our moss farm done, that means we get to work on the moss shop now. So I've gone ahead and gathered all the materials we're going to need, and just like I said, we're going to be placing the moss shop right here. So why don't we go ahead and get started on that? So I'm going for a bit of a neoclassical style of building right here, and I don't really know why, but I think it matches a moss shop pretty well. And you'll notice that the floor inside here is honeycomb blocks. Originally it was supposed to be tough brick, but the tough shop sells a stack of tough for like 2 diamonds, and that is really expensive. No one can afford that. It should be like 1 diamond per stack of tough. But anyway, I like the honeycomb. Alright, so here's the build. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You can go inside here and you can walk over here to look at the moss. And I think these prices are pretty reasonable. 1 diamond for 2 stacks of moss, diamond for 3 stacks of the moss carpet, and then a diamond per stack of either the mossy stone bricks or the mossy cobblestone. And then we can also go on over this way, and pale moss, similar prices, right? Pale moss, 1 diamond for 2 stacks, pale carpet, 1 diamond for 3 stacks. And then we got the pale mossy cobblestone, which is a diamond per stack, because this stuff is really difficult to find. So now that we have this thing done, we should be able to move on to our next shop, which is right over this way, and that, of course, is the flower shop. And in addition to flowers, I want to sell dyes as well. So we're going to be making a ton of farms for this shop specifically, just because there's a lot of dyes you can't get from just flowers. But that's going to be our next project. And of course, the first farm we're going to build is the flower farm. However, the thing about flower farms is they can be a little bit finicky. And here's the reason, right? If I bone meal this, we see that there's a white tulip right here. And if I keep bone mealing this, the only flower that's ever going to appear in this spot is a white tulip. And you can see that there's some white tulips over here, and they kind of form just like a patch of white tulips. And this is the case for any flower, right? We're probably going to get pink tulips right here. Yeah, so this right here is a natural phenomenon known as flower gradients, and it is unique to the flower forest. This doesn't happen in any other biome. So what I did is I made a copy of the seed and just flew around in creative bone mealing all of the grass blocks, trying to figure out the best places we can put a flower farm. And this sounds kind of easy because you're like, oh, let me just make a platform and figure out the gradients from the top. Except, unfortunately, this doesn't work really well. You can see the gradients really well, but the problem here is that the flowers change based on the exact coordinates. So as you can see, there's some purple alliums in the back of these platforms, but the further we go up, the flowers change. So now we have the azure bluets or whatever, and now it's red tulips, and then it changes to orange tulips. So it was pretty time consuming trying to find every single flower that we needed, but we did end up doing it. And what I've decided is that we're going to need 3 different flower farms. The first one's going to be down the hill from our moss farms, just over here. And from here we're going to get the orange tulip, the white tulip, the pink tulip, the oxeye daisy, the cornflower, the dandelion, the poppy, and the azure bluet. This area right here is actually in the plains biome, and the plains biome isn't affected by the flower gradients, so we're always going to get a random collection of the oxeye daisy, the cornflower, the dandelion, the poppy, and the azure bluet. So 8 different flowers from this area. Our second farm is going to be a bit over here, and this is where we're going to get the red tulip, a bit more azure bluets, and then the allium. I mostly need this farm for the alliums and the red tulips because we get everything else from the farm over there. Now there's one more flower we can get here in the flower forest, and that thing was very difficult to find. And one thing I didn't explain is that the gradients always follow the same pattern. So this is just a short example of the gradient, but the red tulip will only be surrounded by either the azure bluet or the orange tulip, and the orange tulip will only be surrounded by these two. So it's a gradient, not just like random patches. And so here at the end of the scale is the lily of the valley, which means the lily of the valley is only going to be surrounded by cornflowers. There's no other flower going up the scale, so it would just go back down, right? So you can see I found this area with cornflowers, which is the only type of flower that can surround the lily of the valley. And I was trying to find where the cornflower stops being cornflower and turns into lily of the valley. So I dug these holes underground trying to find the lily of the valley, but there's just cornflowers right there. So the location I ended up finding is right over here. Our nether portal is just across the little river there, but you can see I found some cornflowers, tried to go up, it turned into oxeye daisies, which is the opposite direction that I want to go on the gradient. But if we drop down here, we finally get the lily of the valley. This is honestly like probably my favorite flower in the game. It's very pretty, very much a fan of this flower. So yeah, we have our 3 different locations. We have the lily of the valley and cornflower hole, which is all the way down here at y equals 33. And then we have our more basic farms, which is going to be the red tulip, azure bluet, allium, and then the one over here that has like 7 different flowers. So now that we've figured that all out, we can head on back to AutoCraft, where we get to build those farms. So why don't we go ahead and cue that montage. Whoa, there it is! We are done with all 3 of the farms, and I genuinely don't know who to credit for this design. I've been using it for a long time, and very easy to memorize. Oh, also, I did end up moving the composters over here. It's just a lot more efficient. Let's grab a ton of bone meal. Let's see if I can do this. Oh yeah, I can quick loot now, guys. It's crazy. Alright, so basically, you just put in some bone meal in this dispenser. So there's an observer that powers this, and it detects this observer, which detects if the grass moves. And the grass moves because there's an observer that gets powered with redstone when it notices an update with the note block. Okay, so yeah, the observer notices a change in the note blocks when there is nothing underneath it and when there is a block underneath it. So right here, you can see over here, it's set as instrument is base, and that's because there's wood underneath it. But over here, you can see that the instrument is harp, and that's because there's air underneath it. So if I right click this, the observer detects and it powers all these pistons, moves the blocks, and when it moves the blocks, the observer over here notices that the note block over here changed instruments, so it's going to power stuff and move it back, and it just goes back and forth. Fair warning, this is very loud. We should just be able to right click it. Yeah. And then we turn it off just by right clicking it at the correct time. But yeah, we get a ton of flowers from this farm. So this first farm gives us these 8 flowers, just like we said in the creative world. But then we have this farm over here, which does the red tulip and the alliums. And now if we power this, you gotta get the timing right. So yeah, this farm gets us a lot of azure bluets. I think you'll notice that in the box I'm storing all my flowers in. This one up here, most of these are the azure bluets. I think both of those farms are producing them, so we just have an abundance of them. But then our last and final farm is over here, as shown in the creative world. And I had a bit of trouble with this one. I built this one too low at the start, but then I built it correctly. And if you're wondering why I don't take fall damage right there, it's a pretty cool trick. You can put the powdered snow here, and it just negates fall damage, and then you just place a carpet so you don't fall through. And this one, unfortunately, only produces like 2 flowers, I think, and we don't get that many lilies of the valley. It's like right here only, so it's a lot of those blue cornflowers that we get right here. And it's a lot of the cornflowers. Oh, I guess we also get oxeye daisies. I did not realize that. And then I just have your standard bubble column to go back up. And this farm produces a ton of seeds, so I just made a little chest right here that can fill the composters. So these are the 10 dyes that we can get just with flower farms and the bone meal farm. So the ones we're missing right now are green, lime, black, gray, brown, and cyan. So we can get green, lime green, and cyan from one farm. We'll need to make a cocoa bean farm for brown, and then we need a ink sac farm for black and gray. So I say we start with the easiest of those first. Alright, I hope you guys are ready to see the jankiest redstone farm I think I've ever built. It's very simple. If I stand on this pressure plate, sticky piston moves the observer over here, which powers both of these dispensers in an observer clock. So I just gotta place that there. Oh, I gotta move. Okay. Okay, so I can just hold left and right click down, and then it should just instantly do this. So now we have brown dye, which is wonderful. But yeah, very janky farm, but it works. And that's what's important. Time for the next farm. This farm is another one of these farms that you kind of just memorize after playing Minecraft for so long. The basic idea with this farm is we're going to have a bunch of cactus on top of the sand here. And of course, cactus has that special property where if it touches a block, it breaks. But essentially, as soon as a cactus grows next to this fence, it's gonna check that, oh, I can't spawn here, and it's going to pop off, and then it just flows into our hopper in the middle. We might eventually have to add a second layer to this farm to make it a bit more productive, but that mostly depends on how well we sell all of this dye. But that is farm number 2 completed. Off to farm number 3. So this is a very basic squid farm I found. The tutorial is going to be in the description. Very easy to make, tons of cheap materials. However, one part really sucks, and that's the fact that you have to drain all the water from around the farm. And I only have 2 sponges, so I had to go back and forth between the nether a lot. Fortunately for me, I got a ton of practice draining water from things already, because right before I filmed this, I spilled water all over my keyboard, so I had to drain that. Also, the other day, I ordered gorgonzola cheese in my calzone, and that was the worst mistake I've ever made. That stuff should be illegal. Never eat gorgonzola cheese. Blech. If you actually like gorgonzola cheese, what in the world is wrong with you? Anyway, we've got this cool swag, awesome, really cool. No way! I suppose the server did not enjoy my opinions on gorgonzola cheese. Wow. Alright. Now, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, we have an AFK platform up here, And I haven't spent too much time just standing up there, but I have spent some time. And this thing is actually pretty fast. It produces way faster than the cactus farm at least. But we can just go down into this little chamber, and we've got a chest, and you'll see we already have like 6 stacks of ink sacks. Pretty cool. So with that, I think we have all of the dyes we're going to need for this dye shop. And that can only mean that the next thing we gotta do is, build the shop. So we're back here in the shopping district, and I have gathered all of the materials we're gonna need for this shop. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And there it is, the dye and flower shop. Very happy with this build. I haven't done anything in this style ever before, so it's pretty neat. But you come in here and you can just have an assortment of flowers and stuff, and when you click, you're like, well, what's the price of these flowers? What's the price? Well, what you do is you get a bundle from here, and you can just go around and be like, I want a cornflower. Ooh, I want a white tulip as well. And you can just go and fill a bundle with flowers. So it's a bundle of flowers for a diamond, and you can just pick and choose whatever flowers you would like. Most people would like an assortment of flowers. So we make it easy for them. You just grab the flowers you want. And then, whoa, dyes are upstairs, guys. Oh my gosh, whoa, dyes. This is just a half stack per diamond. Some of these are really hard to get, like magenta and pink. And I guess pink's not that hard, but light gray I should probably put at like a 50% off or like a buy one, get one free, a BOGO discount. Oh, and then I have a couple flowers I just manually collect, like the blue orchids. I just go and bone meal a swamp. I don't really want to make another flower farm. And then we've got the flowering azaleas and the azaleas, because apparently you can put those in pots. So we have them in pots. You can put them in your bouquet. So pretty neat, pretty fantastic and fabulous right there. And now that I'm thinking about it, have we sold anything from the moss shop? It's been a couple of days in between all these clips. Oh, we've sold a couple stacks of pale moss. No pale carpet. No pale mossy cobblestone. Oh my gosh, what is... Oh, this was the cobblestone and the stone brick thing. Oh, okay, and some moss as well, so I'll have to restock those. Guys, we have 25 diamonds from this shop already, and I'm not even done with the video. This is crazy. I'm not expecting too many sales from this dye and flower shop, honestly. I don't feel like anyone needs an abundance of flowers or dye. So it is what it is, right? I should probably put like a painting on the wall or something. I might do some decorating off camera. I kind of just want to get this video done. It's taking multiple hours to do. And speaking of getting this video done, we've got to do the next and final shop, the concrete shop. And you might be wondering, well, what farms do you need to build for this one? This is just a bunch of natural gathering of resources, like sand and gravel and the dyes that we have already collected over there. So I know we just came out of like a time lapse or a montage, but what do you guys think about a second one? So the thinking here is I wanted to build a cargo ship that has a container that has all the concrete, but I didn't want to build an entire cargo ship, so I made a boat that can only carry one shipping container at a time. Don't think about it too much because it's really inefficient. Now you might be wondering, how in the world do I even walk into the concrete shop? Well, lucky for you, I'm building an entire kind of shipping bay. Also, those banners are really cool, I think. But we're building a shipping bay so you can walk from the boardwalk to the shop. And look at that, there is our little concrete boat and this kind of makeshift dock that I made. If someone wants to change that, go right ahead. I kind of just threw this together. But we've got this little dock and a little tether for the boat. And then you can come in here. I'm selling these at 32 per diamond right now, just because I don't have that much. But there's at least a half stack in each box. And I honestly don't think we'll sell some of these colors, but some of these other colors we might sell quite a bit of. Yeah, I'm just gonna stock this shop off camera so you guys aren't bored by a ton of sand and gravel collecting. So that's gonna be it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you'd like to see more of this style of content, be sure to subscribe. And I think I'll leave you guys with just one final montage.